ろんな戦いを超えて数々の傷を負ってきたが、今うずくのはこの傷だ。
Blackbeard is hiding the craziest plot twist in One Piece. This twist is so crazy that if I told you it now, you would probably think I'm crazy. So instead, let me take you across my thought process that led me into this absurd theory. But if you stick with me, I promise you, it will just make sense. To understand where all my madness comes from, we first have to formulate an hypothesis that helps us answer all the questions on Blackbeard's devil fruit. So what do we know about Blackbeard? Well, we know that he is the only person in One Piece to have more than one devil fruit.
体の中に一匹悪魔を宿してるってことなんで、例えば俺が身に近づくと身の中から悪魔が飛び出てきて、俺の中の悪魔と喧嘩を始めて体が爆発しちまうんで。
Since a person can only have one devil fruit, there is a popular theory that suggests Blackbeard eat a Zoan-type octopus in order to be able to support more devil fruits, since octopuses have 3 hearts. You guys probably already heard this theory several times, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. All I'm going to say is that first, it makes perfect sense, and second, Oda has put so many hints and Easter eggs around Blackbeard that revolve around the number 3 and octopuses. For example, in the Mockdown arc, where we first get introduced to Blackbeard, we get a cover story on Hachi, and we keep seeing the number 3 pop up time and time again. However, we also see the number 2 surface from time to time. This is because back then Teach only had 2 devil fruits. For example, the first time we see Blackbeard, there are 3 beer mugs, with only 2 being full and 1 being empty. This potentially could be suggesting that at that moment he had 2 full devil fruit slots, with 1 slot still being empty. Let's take a look at chapter 225. This is the chapter where we get this famous line from Blackbeard.
人の夢は終わらねえ。
The chapter is titled A Person's Dream, and it translates to Hito to Yume. Spoiler alert, since we now know that Luffy ate a Hito Hito, and Blackbeard ate the Yumi Yumi, when I first saw this translation I immediately thought that it was just another brilliant moment of Oda foreshadowing the final clash of One Piece. However, what if this title could have one more meaning? What if the origin of Blackbeard's first devil fruit is also Hito Hito, and like Luffy is based on a god, and more specifically a god of the underworld? Obviously the concept of the octopus had to stay, with the most obvious one being a Kraken mythical Zoan. But that was just too easy. See, for me, the origin of Blackbeard's devil fruit had to be more superhumanoid based rather than being just a monster. Now, this is completely my theory. What if the first devil fruit Blackbeard ate was a Hito Hito mythical Zoan model, Kanaloa? For those of you who don't know, in ancient Hawaii traditions, Kanaloa is a god that is symbolized by an octopus or a squid. Kanaloa is also considered the god of the underworld, and hear this, is the teacher of magic. Legends narrate that he was the leader of a group of spirits that were split out from the other gods. Could this also be a hint towards a D-clan? Kanaloa is also associated with the symbol, simply called the Eye of the Kanaloa. This symbol consists of a 7-pointed star that is surrounded by circles that are divided by 8 lines. Oda even kind of shows us how to draw this in this SBS of chapter 224. Now, if you take the symbol and compare it to the circles that we see on the Blackbeard draft, you can see it looks very similar. But moving forward, the question remains on how does Blackbeard manage to steal a devil fruit? Well, what was the first thing that we see Blackbeard do in One Piece? Well, he's eating a cherry pie. And if you take a good look at a cherry pie, it looks a lot like a brain. In chapter 139, we get a conversation between Dr. Kureha and Nami where the myocardium, the brain, and the artery are mentioned. Could it be possible that these are the 3 organs that Blackbeard needs to ingest in order to attain the power of the devil fruit he is stealing? Although this sounds like pure evil, the concept just makes sense. In both symbolism and realism, the heart and brain are the center of one's consciousness. If disconnected, one will not function without the other. In One Piece, if a devil fruit user dies, that fruit will eventually reappear. Therefore, if Blackbeard wants to use that power, he has to keep that person alive, meaning that Blackbeard, in order to acquire another person's devil fruit power, has to ingest the person's heart, brain, and their connecting artery, which, in theory, will still keep that person alive. In Punk Hazard, when looking at how Law switches hearts around, it is clear that in One Piece the heart is where the person's personality and emotions lie. However, the devil fruit power stays with that original body, regardless of the heart. So how does Blackbeard do this very delicate process and still keep intact all these vital organs? Well, Oda gave us an explanation in chapter 219. Well, on the ship there were several skeletons that Robin decided to analyze. Upon analyzing, she and Chopper realized that one skull had performed the act of
こ
trepanation.
こに開いてる穴は人為的なもの。
そこを疲れて死んだってわけかこいつは。
いいえ、これは治療の後よ。戦闘術でしょ、繊維さん。
昔は脳腫瘍を抑えるとき頭蓋骨に穴を開けたんだ。でもずっと昔の医術だぞ。
Could it be possible that through this ancient operation is how Blackbeard is able to steal the devil fruit powers? Also, if you didn't notice, Blackbeard always has a hat or a bandana covering the top of his head, meaning that we don't know if he also performed trepanation on himself. From analyzing the remains from the St. Brice ship, Robin gives us very specific information. She is able to tell us exactly how long ago the ship got lost in the Sky Sea, 208 years ago, and where the ship came from, Brice Kingdom from South Blue. Brice sounds very similar to Bristol, England, which is the town that the real-life pirate Blackbeard originated from, meaning that Blackbeard could have been potentially riding the ship 208 years ago. This could also mean that Blackbeard found a way to survive just like Brooke did. Although this is a very cool connection, I don't want to get too off topic, because, trust me, the craziest parts are still to come. Staying on the topic of trepanation, I believe that Blackbeard didn't have to perform this operation on Whitebeard because half his face was already blown off. I always wondered why Oda drew something so brutal, but if you think about it as a setup for Blackbeard, it kind of just makes sense. Let's return to Mocktown. In chapter 225, Luffy and Zoro say something in regards to Blackbeard. They say there's two of them. So who could that second person be? Stating the obvious, it would be the fourth commander of the Whitebeard fleet, Saki, who Blackbeard killed after Saki found the Yumi Yumi. However, I think that Blackbeard killed Saki before he got the chance to eat the fruit. Because if he did eat the fruit, he would have been a very powerful opponent to beat and kill. So, who could the second person be? Well, in the cover of chapter 223, the first time we see Blackbeard, we get this cover picture with this description: Octopunch and a village smiling elder. This phrase translates in Romanized kanji to Octopunch to Mura no egao no choro. Now, Mura in Italian translates to walls or barriers. And if we dissect the word choro, we get another Italian word, oro, meaning gold. Also, ro are the first two letters of the word Roger. Let's take a look at the cover of chapter 225. The description of this cover reads, remembering old dreams under the sunset. Again, the word dreams is an obvious nod to Blackbeard's Yumi Yumi fruit. And what is the color of a sunset? Well, obviously gold.
あいつらの言う新時代ってのはクソだ。海賊が夢を見る時代が終わるって？おい人の夢は終わらねえ。人をしのぐってのも楽じゃねえ。現れていこうじゃねえか。高みを目指せば出す拳の見つからねえ喧嘩もあるもんだ。なあおい。
When you carefully dissect Blackbeard's comments, you first realize that there could be a slight hint that he's contradicting himself. But most importantly, this is not a phrase that you would accept from Blackbeard to say, but rather something that you accept from the King of Pirates. It almost seems like every time Blackbeard is holding his red flash, he sounds like Roger, and when he's not, he turns back to Teach. Then he says this. Almost like he's already been there. Now, I'm not sure if Blackbeard went to Sky Island, but we know for sure that Roger did.
我ここに至りこの文を最果てへと導く海賊ゴールディ・ロジャー
Nami suspects this and even wants to ask for information.
あいつ空島について何か知ってたのかも。何者かしら。
Before Blackbeard leaves the scene, he says this. This grog tastes awfully good today. I don't know about you, but G and Rog, again initial of gold, and Roger. The next time Blackbeard and Luffy meet, Blackbeard is going after Luffy's head and decides to show Luffy and Zoro their new bounties. And here is where we see Oda foreshadowing at his best. You can see that on Zoro's picture the letters E and D are shown, and on Luffy's side you see only the W and A with the word dead visible. This is a clear foreshadow of Edward, aka Whitebeard, and Ace's death, caused by no other than the man holding the picture. However, the words Zoro, Oro, and alive are also visible on Luffy's bounty. Is this another coincidence, or is this another nod that Roger is, and I'll say it this time, alive and within the darkness of Marshall D. Teach? So why would Blackbeard eat Roger, since it's been recently confirmed that he doesn't have a devil fruit? Well, the obvious answer is information. Roger was the only man to sail across the Grand Line, find the One Piece, and hold the title of King of Pirates. He holds all the keys and knowledge on how to get there, and especially what is needed to get there. And that is what Blackbeard is after. Also, since Roger didn't have a devil fruit, it worked perfectly for Blackbeard because it still left one spot open for the Yumi Yumi. This is probably why Blackbeard doesn't need to go and look for road poneglyphs. Blackbeard already knows how to get to Laptel. However, he is still probably missing the same pieces that Roger was too early for. Yet he is patiently waiting. If you know Blackbeard, the man has patience to sail, and will not strike unless everything falls into place. Just look how long he stayed on Whitebeard's fleet looking for the Yumi Yumi. This could also explain the reason why Teach and Shanks clashed. Remember, before Roger died, he decided to go and visit Whitebeard. There they talk about the One Piece and the D Clan, in which Teach also gets mentioned.
うちにも一人ティーチってのがいる。
After Roger left, there could be a possibility that Teach followed him, waiting for the right moment to land on his prey. And the right moment probably happened after Roger was executed. And who else was present at Roger's execution? Well, Shanks was. So, could there be a possibility that Shanks caught Teach eating his captain's brains? Would this be a good enough reason why the two men clashed?
宝剣の痛手でもなければ鷹の目から受けたものでもない。俺にこの傷を負わせたのはお前んとこの黒ひげティーチだ。俺が言いたいことがわかるか？白ひげ。あいつはじっと木を待っていた。隊長の座にもつかず名を上げず自分を隠し今まで白ひげと。
So, if this theory is correct, then we could potentially be witnessing the most intimidating and overpowered villain the world of entertainment has ever seen. With Blackbeard holding the power of the Gura fruit that can cause earthquakes and tsunamis, the Yumi Yumi fruit, and especially the supreme knowledge and haki ability from the former King of Pirates, Gol D. Roger. My name is Marco from One Piece World Journal, and thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe.